So let me. Where the fuck is the? There it is. All right, so here we are on an Arsenal Merc. First and foremost, you always want to make sure you charge up your stacks. Obviously, the Mercenary has a raid ability called Supercharged Celerity. Converts 10 stacks of supercharged gas to issue supercharged celerity to you and your operations group within 40 meters, increasing alacrity by 10%. Very good. Now, supercharged gas for the Arsenal Merc. It increases your armor penetration by 10% for 10 seconds while active. Damage dealt by tracer missile, heat seeker missiles, blazing bolts, priming shot grants supercharged velocity, increasing your alacrity by 1%. This effect cannot occur more than once per second and can stack up to 3 times. Alright, so personally what I do, right? Well, let me cover the main rotation first. So your main rotation... Oh, let me cover set bonuses first, so that I cover set bonuses first because it explains, and you have to you have to modify your rotation a little bit for the Arsenal Merc, really any class. So your 2 set bonus heat seeker missiles and serrated shot for the IO Mercs. Increased damage dealt by 2% for 15 seconds. Cannot occur more than once every 30 seconds. For your 4 set piece, Power Surge and Tech Override cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. And your 6 activating Unload and Blazing Bolts will grant Eliminator's critical bonus, making your next Heat Seekers, missiles, or Mag Shot critically hit. So normally, your main rotation, right, will be Blazing Bolts, priming shot, tracer missile, heat seeker missile, rail shot, right? That's your main rotation. Now I see a lot of people in PvP, they fuck this up because they're all worried about just tracer missile spam, tracer missile spam, tracer missile spam. Yes, I get it. You get your 5 stacks and make sure your rail shot do a little bit more damage. It's not worth it in PvP. PvP is a constantly changing, moving environment. The only time you need to make sure you do a rail shot, a tracer missile, is when you don't have a heat signature on your target. So that's the only time you need to do. Don't worry about your 5 stacks. I mean, every time you do 1 tracer missile, it gives you 2 stacks. So now personally what I do is when I run into battle is I'll do blazing bolts, I'll hit my power surge and my thermal sense override, and then I'll do a fusion missile. Right? Now fusion missile costs a lot of heat, but you want to do fusion missile, especially if you see a group of people. It's a little fluff damage, but it'll increase your overall DPS. It will keep stealthers from stealthing. You know, it'll help. It's just useful to have. It was like the old Carnage. I would still use Rupture to keep that dot on them. So it's good to supplement that DPS. Okay, so your main rotation should look like this. I use Blazing Bolts, then I'll hit Supercharged Gas, Priming Shot, Tracer Missile, Heat Seekers, Rail Shot, Blazing Bolts. Make sure you keep your Electro Dart on them. And then when everything's on cooldown, then you go back and do a Tracer Missile to re-proc your Blazing Bolts. But this is what your overall rotation should look like. Now what I like to do as a little side fun thing is when I get my fusion missile on a big group of enemies, I also like to pop Death from Above, because that double yellow number's ticking on like 6 people. Oh man, it's beautiful. So that is your main rotation. Again, I go for 5% alacrity and 71 surge from gear. Now, just like the Carnage Marauder, high velocity gas cylinder gives you 35% penetration, but it also gives you 3% increased alacrity. Now, here's where I can kind of argue back and forth. On my Carnage Marauder, I sacrifice some surging because right now, as you can see, my critical multiplier is 75%. So I do take that 3% and I do move it over into accuracy on my Marauder. But on my Merc, I don't. Now I can see it back and forth because there's a lot of times, you know, I'll hit priming shot and I'll miss. So then I have to go back and hard cast my next tracer missile. So I just feel on my Merc I like to have the extra surging for those big 16k, 14k heat seekers. So that's why I go a little surge. But yes, by all means, you could min-max, you could go the 94% accuracy, the 71 surge, and the 5 alacrity. However, I would always keep 5% alacrity. Plus note, Arsenal gives you a lot of accuracy anyways, so you can jump up to like 15-20% alacrity doing all your rotation and stuff. Cut. Siskies. So that's that. So now, my utilities. That's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. This is good to have. You don't necessarily need it. The way my play style is, especially, you know, I main a Carnage Marauder, is I'm in your face, hard, fast DPS. So even in Arsenal vents an extra heat every few seconds. So I go hard and fast. So even, you know, even with that fusion missile, you will build up heat. So I like to have this so that when I ever get stunned, you know, it burns some extra heat for me. It's not necessarily, and if I weren't to take this, I would actually put it in custom Enviro suit for that extra 3% healing received and endurance. So, but because I like to play hard, fast, and loose, I like to have this extra heat loss. Now, the other two specs of Mercenary that I play, I definitely take this ability, which makes your vent extra heat and give you alacrity. Especially IO Merc. IO Merc, you will build heat so fast. Well, at both healing and this one. So I find this a must. This power barrier, this used to be in the old Arsenal tree. It's definitely a must. People that think Mercs are squishy, you should definitely have this. I always felt a lot more tanky in Arsenal spec just because of this ability coupled with this. So these two right here. Wait, is it that or is it this? Yeah, it's this. So this, when you emit an energy, it absorbs damage. Plus this makes your increases. So this is what made you a little more tanky as Arsenal. So I definitely get these two things. And then I get this afterburners. I always loved how Arsenal made your rocket punch root people. So that part was the Arsenal part, and then the old Pyro, I think it was the extra jet boost knockback. So I like having that utility. I like having this when you have energy shield up. It pretty much makes you immune to interrupts. It's a very good utility to have, especially when someone's on your ass. And I take this and I couple it with this. It lowers the cooldown of your energy shield whenever you take damage. So, and then I like having a little extra duration on my hydraulic override. So that's why I get that one. This one I pretty much explained it. And then obviously mobility. I like being able to do stuff on the move. So that is why I do that. And that pretty much sums up the Arsenal Merc. Alright guys, did I miss anything?